What's up, my fellow lionesses and lions? Welcome to the Project Lioness podcast, where we are here to disrupt the mainstream narrative when it comes to health, holism, and human consciousness. We are here to share bold truths about health and life from a female perspective. This episode is brought to you by our team, Inspire Co., where we stand for your health being inspired by choice rather than being inhibited by chance. Thank you for being here and joining in on these raw, real, and powerful conversations. We hope our show brings you inspiration and empowerment to overcome challenges, reclaim your life, and ultimately pursue your mission with power, purpose, and play. Now, let's get into the episode. Some of the challenges that you've bumped up against, and you don't have to get into like specifics of, and maybe you haven't dealt with challenges, but I would imagine not everyone in your sphere holds this consciousness or this level of work. And I think people who might be listening may be dealing with that with a loved one, and those interpersonal relationships can get challenging where you almost avoid it. So what has allowed you in your gifts to like have the courage to speak of these things, knowing that on the other side, they may not get it, they may not agree, or they may not understand?
I have been wildly surprised that I have yet to interact with someone who hasn't, in some way, shape, or form, like, accepted that as okay.
Cool.
Which has rocked me, to be honest.
Like, I also think it's a reflection of you, but...
Yeah, but
it doesn't surprise me with you.
I feel like I'm able to have those conversations in like a way that just, like, I don't tiptoe around it. Like a lot of people do. Like this concept of death is a very real thing for everybody. Everybody.
Everybody. Did you hear that? You are not immortal. You will die.
But I feel like death can be so much less scary if you actually talk about it when you're living. And it's not that I'm like manifesting my own death.
Right. No.
Because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like someday I will die.
Yeah.
And when I do, I want that transition to be a peaceful, joyful, like happy, like celebratory thing. I know there will be sadness. I get it. Like that's just part of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't only have to be that.
Right. Room for the whole experience. Right. Room for the tears, the anger, the confusion, the laughter, the celebration, and not feel guilty.
Right.
Because that's something that I've noticed at funerals too. It's like, if you laugh too loud, I think it can be based on like the consciousness and the context of who and what is hosting it. But like if you laugh too loud or you giggle or, you know, whatever, I think there can be this like, you should be sad right now, you know, and maybe that's my own projection, probably some of my projection.
If people don't laugh at my funeral, because Dr. Mel is officiating my funeral. So
which is like the greatest honor. When you, side note, when you asked me to do that, I like went home and just bawled. I was like, what? Like, that is like one of the greatest honors, other than I think being a doula or at someone's birth. If someone invites you to their birth, I've been invited to one birth with my friend Julia. Shout out to Julia. I know she listens to this. I was able to be at her birth for her firstborn, and the doula was there, the midwife was there, I was there holding space, and it was like the coolest fucking thing. So this is like right along with that. We're like, man, it is such an honor. Linds. And if it changes, you can change it. Like, I'm not attached to it. Well, if there's someone better who comes along,
no,
I'll fight them.
No, permission for all the downers who are not participating in the fun, like spitball them or something.
Like, yo, bitch, you better get a freaking shot of tequila. No, I'm just kidding. We'll probably have like
there were tequila shots at my wedding, so it would be funny if there were tequila shots.
Do you want NA tequila or real tequila?
Maybe both. I mean,
okay, we can have. I like options.
Yeah.
I'll probably take a shot of real tequila.
I encourage you to do so. Do what you gotta do. Yes, exactly.
My German, which I've discovered I'm not really actually German, but that's a whole other conversation.
Nice.
So, psilocybin.
Yeah.
Having, not tiptoeing, So to recap your personal journey of what's helped that connection. So having the conversation with yourself first, doing deep inner work. For those of you who, hear psilocybin and something rises up in your mind, I'm going to invite you as a practitioner to not just go drop some mushrooms in your basement. Highly don't recommend that. Is that an option? Yes. I think it's valuable to have guides and people who know what they're doing. So if that is something that is perking in your system and you're curious, you can connect with me. I'm been studying that for a while, and I know people in that world who know what they're doing. And it's not to say you can't get benefit out of dropping mushrooms in your basement.
Sure. I don't think my experience would have been the same had it not been guided.
I agree, from what you've told me.
Yeah. I honestly don't. So there was such benefit in having people there to process with.
Totally.
Because what I didn't expect is to be able to just come out of my trip and go pee when I needed to pee, and have people there to be like, "Hey, this is what's happening. I'm gonna go back in. See you later."
Exactly.
So I think that was a really important part, is just having those space holders there and feeling like I could actually really go into it because I felt safe. In the presence of the guides that I had. That's
important.
So,
That's important. So anyway, because Linds is speaking to this, and there is a renaissance happening, and it has been decriminalized in some places of the world, and that's probably the trend. I think with any sort of emergence of a healing phenomena, there can be really powerful means of doing it. And if you don't honor the set and setting with any sort of modality, it can go south. So I just want to speak to that, and because we're talking about it, and because I'm a practitioner, I feel it is my responsibility to let you guys know there are proper ways of doing this from all different perspectives. So just my little caveat there, my little disclaimer on the side of don't go I heard it on a podcast with Dr. Mel and now I'm gonna go do a bunch of mushrooms. No. And I am definitely an advocate of expanding consciousness. So if you want to have those conversations with me, you can find me and we can have those conversations. So, okay. So anything else that feels important to share in you mentioned in our conversations before this, your body-mind connection, that type of thing. I don't know how much you want to speak to that, but this is really your space to speak wisdom. So I don't feel like I've had a body-mind connection until after I was diagnosed and I started getting care from you. Interesting.
I was always quick to be like, oh, this is how I feel. Oh, shut it down. But
thinking
as I've
your
learned,
feelings?
Yep, I think my feelings.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't feel them, I think them. But it turns out that's not the case. That's not the case. They're stored. And they needed to get out.
They needed to be felt, not thought.
Yes, exactly. So the network spinal work that I've been doing with you has been critical in me really forming the relationship between my body and my mind, and understanding that there isn't one without the other. They play in the same playpen. They're just.
And sometimes they fight. Sometimes they
exactly.
play.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's been a really important part of my healing journey too. And I don't think that my psilocybin journey would have been quite as powerful. Maybe I can't speak to it any other way than I experienced it, but totally. I don't know that it would have been as wholly healing and transformative as it was had I not done all the work that I did with you leading up to it for a solid, year and a half, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you speaking to that, because that's something I've seen with clients who have chosen to do their journeys, and then maybe some people who haven't had the somatic work and the nervous system work as a foundation when we're just in our conscious living, versus people who have been able to tap into both. And there is a difference, right? Because at the end of the day, your body is your vessel of your consciousness, right? And it's important to help those two be integrated. And psilocybin or psychedelics can be such a somatic experience, but if you don't feel safe here first, to me, what I've seen is it doesn't anchor in as much. So
sure.
It's been an honor to facilitate that part of it for you. And didn't you find us on like Instagram?
I did, yeah, because all my rugby friends.
Oh yeah, rugby.
Here, yeah,
that's
we're
right.
Connected through rugby.
There's
rugby.
so many people, by the way, that like know you, who know me, and they're like, "How do you know this person?" I'm like, "I don't even know the web of life brought us together." Like, right. Fuck, man. But I remember, like, yeah, you had messaged on Instagram, and I think I was working on someone, and it's still on our Instagram. I think it's me working on Debbie, and Debbie would be fine with me disclosing that because she gave me permission to share that video.
Nice.
But you're like, I need this, and I'm like, yeah, here's our number, reach out. And then you did, and now here we are.
Yep. And now you support my kids and soon my husband.
Your kids are the best when they come in.
They love it here.
Yeah.
Like their appointment next week, they're like, is it Monday yet? They're so excited.
I love them. They're great. I love all the kids I care for, but your kids are a hoot.
Yeah.
They're...
I think so, and it's funny, when Ryan brought them to their appointment a while back, he was like, I get it. You walk into that place and you just like feel good. It's like, yeah, you're right.
It's intentional. We've done things to the space so you guys can feel. And I think it's just, and I appreciate that feedback because that is feedback we get a lot. Which, by the way, all this is not like a shameless plug for, coming to our office. That's your autonomy. But, Linds has experienced a lot of benefits that I know you've wanted to share upon. But we've done a lot to this space, and I think over the years, the healing and the wholeness experience here just creates a field now where it's just here.
Yeah.
Right? Like y'all showing up and doing your work, like you are part of that field, and it gives, even subconsciously, when people walk in and they've never experienced their own wholeness, they can feel it. They're like, something here is different, and that's because of y'all showing up and doing the work. It's nothing special that Dr. Aaron and Ashley and myself are doing. Like, yes, we're holding that frequency, but really it's the community being like, yo, this is possible. Whether it's a free thing you guys come to or you start care or whatever it is, know that, as Linds is speaking to, like, wholeness is possible and accessible, and it's not as far out there as you think. And it does require you to have the courage to choose something different.
Right. Because it's different. Like,
you
don't like crack my neck and pop my hips and
I crack your destiny.
You crack my soul.
It's true.
It's soul work.
I crack open your soul so that everything that is already in you is like, oh, thank you, we can do the work now.
We can exist.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
What else?
Yeah. But a lot of the work that I've put in the last year and a half has allowed me to reflect on this concept of time. And time being both precious and renewable. Yep. And I actually put together a keynote talk that I've been giving at various places. I actually just gave it at my high school to a bunch of seniors. Did you? Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they recorded it, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Where did you go to high school again? New Richmond, Wisconsin.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. But what was really cool, so I've only given it in front of adults up until this past week.
Yeah.
And giving it to a group of seniors in high school who are about to experience the world was just such an interesting dynamic, and it was just so powerful to have them like be curious about what I was saying.
Yeah.
Because some of the lessons that I draw from my past into the presentation are things like understanding that the things that in your past that have felt like wasted time are preparing you for something bigger. Like when I was little, I wanted to be a country music singer. Like that was everything.
Really?
Up until like senior year of high school.
Do you sing country now?
No.
I didn't know you like country.
I like country.
Okay.
I don't sing now.
Okay.
I probably could if I tried, but
yeah, you could.
But I went to college, tried out for the like special ensemble choir, didn't make it, and was like pissed about all the wasted time. Until I remembered that, or until I figured out that all of the time I had spent connecting with people, connecting with audiences, engaging people, making people laugh, making people feel, was preparing me for a bigger connection later in life. And what do I do now? I public speak and I connect with people.
That's it.
Like, all of that was preparation. It wasn't wasted time. So I talk about lessons like that, and things like understanding that you're going to be memorable for different reasons than you think. So saying yes to opportunities that scare you, or that are presented at a time that is not the perfect time for you. Limiting your own opportunities by saying no because you think you know the perfect timing for everything. Sometimes shit just shows up in your lap and you're like, I'm not ready for this, and the universe is like, here it is.
We wouldn't give it to you if you were.
Like cancer, for example. You know? Exactly.
There's your joke. So can I just ask a question in that?
Yeah.
So would you say, from your exploration of time as a resource, which is really space, if we apply physics, then if you're able to perceive the gifts of the lived experience and derive it and help it change form and see where it served you in other ways, would you say there is there really such a thing as wasted time if you can hold that perception?
Not a chance. Not at all.
Interesting.
No. And that was such a shift.
I believe that too, but
yeah.
I just wanted to ask. Maybe it was a leading question, but I led into it.
Well, thank you for leading into it. Because no, there's no such thing as wasted time. Like, I think that there's such thing as being intentional also.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think on the other side of that, people do sometimes have the feedback mechanisms of like, I know there's more within me.
Right.
And perhaps you needed the not making that ensemble
right.
to shift your trajectory, like you said, into something that is of more alignment, but still see the gifts of that experience and
right.
not have resentment.
Yep, exactly.
Because what I hear you're speaking to is like, oh, that was wasted. That's a form of resentment of like, I wasted all this time.
Right.
Versus like, well, what did that teach me?
Yeah.
How did that serve me? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the things that I talk about in my presentation too is like, I make a reference to the claw machine in arcades.
Yeah.
And essentially that's what cancer did for me, is it was that claw machine that lifted me up out of my current reality, out of the slog of my daily life. And it forced perspective.
Wow.
Like it said, look at what you're doing with your life. You might not be here for long. Wake up.
Woo. That is a powerful, like, visual and such a beautiful way to describe, like, the claw of life.
Right.
And however you want to perceive that. And beautifully said about, we all will have a moment of like a tap on the shoulder that may transmute into a claw someday.
Right.
Or a slap in the face, or a car accident, or like you said, cancer, that's like, yo, wake the fuck up and live your fucking life. Not that you weren't living, but I think there's a difference of like just getting by and surviving versus like, no, I'm here to leave a legacy beyond my physical form.
Right. Yeah. And I'm here to take in all that what my physical life has to offer can offer.
Yeah.
Because something that has shown itself to me so clearly is how many opportunities there are to connect with people who are different from you, who you can learn from, who you can teach. And those connection points live, like those real life connection points. And the beautiful thing about the world now is like, I get to connect with people across the world with a touch of a button. Yeah. And that's cool too.
That is cool.
Like that's really cool.
That's the gift of technology.
I read something the other day. It was some sort of article talking about how hard it is for students to sit in class and get lectured when at their fingertips is the fucked up shit that's happening all across the world that's being managed by adults. Yeah,
it's true.
You know, seemingly responsible adults, like making all this crap happen.
Inner wounded children.
And that they're supposed to just sit there and be like, oh, E equals MC
squared.
Calculus.
It's so funny. I was about to say calculus. Yeah, my husband and I reflect on that often, and Ashley and I have also talked about this too, where technology has allowed so many amazing things, while simultaneously there's a level in which our nervous system wasn't I don't want to say wasn't designed, but the capacity in which our nervous system is at now and the collective consciousness, I think it's a matter of like we can hold in our brain or maybe store it like 150 connections.
Yeah.
But social media and technology has just blown that up, where we can have connection to people that we may never go to that part of the world, but we know there's something going on.
Right.
And while that can serve, it's also like, what is that doing to our collective nervous system? And like you said, there's potentially a lack of focus on like, why the fuck would I care about what is on this screen when I know like there's issues with humanity at stake? So as much as it's like blown our brains open, it's like, how do we be embodied enough to like also live our daily life and not feel, I think about this so often, like not feel guilt in living all out when simultaneously across the globe there's humans suffering.
Right.
Like what is that like?
Yeah.
I don't know. My perception is like, how can I end suffering in myself so I can make a big enough impact, even turning on a button, someone from across the world where I share one nugget and maybe it shifts something in their consciousness. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm
curious if you have any perspectives on that.
Well, so the first thing that came into my mind is like the integration period after my psilocybin journey. Because like you feel this crazy, amazing shift in consciousness, and then you go back to real life.
Yeah, whatever that means.
And you're like, this is different.
Yeah.
But it's
because I'm different.
Because I'm different. And that's sort of the same thing. Like all of a sudden you're aware of stuff that's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And at the same time you still have to live life here. And there's I think that's like a forever task, is trying to find balance between those two things.
Yeah.
And some days it's easier than others.
Totally. And
I think it's okay to have the hard days.
And I think it's okay to like take a social media detox. And I also say that having the privilege of being able to do that.
Right.
You know? So I'm conscious of that. I'm conscious of my ability to say yes and no. But you're right. It's like holding multidimensionality while also being a human.
Right.
And as one of my mentors says, like you, Dr. Brian Lum, I love you. You're amazing. And he taught me this, so I'm giving credit where credit's due. But like you have your alien part, which is that global universal consciousness, like everything is one, everything is connected, like I met God, I am God, right, whatever.
Right.
You've got your alien part. Well, maybe that's your angel part. Some people would argue that aliens are angels, vice versa, but we won't go there in this podcast.
Whoa.
But then you also have your animalistic human side.
Yeah.
And then you have your ancestral side, which is like who came before you, right? The feet that stepped on this earth before us.
Yeah.
And we're all of it, right? And you're also a human who's gonna fucking cry and be angry and have emotions and deal with human experiences like death and trauma and cancer and loss. And it's like, what's at the root of all that? And my experience so far has been love and connection. Because as you said, time is space. Like this is the only moment like this of you and I together in a podcast on 1/11/2024 that will ever exist.
Right.
We cannot recreate this moment, right? Like this moment in our atoms and our particles will never exist again. And like, what a beautiful fucking gift. And also like, there's like comedy and tragedy in that all
I was
at
going to
once.
say, it's like happy and sad. It's the duality.
Yeah, it's the duality, which is literally the crux of matter. Is protons and electrons, and that's what creates matter, and that's like what matters in life.
Yeah.
Like now my brain's just. I need to fast on all these podcasts.
I was gonna say you're on a roll, man.
You guys have been with me long enough where you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Mel had to bring in particle physics with Linds. But that's why I love and appreciate you, is like your ability to dance in the humanness and in the lived experience, and also share wisdom in that too, and be real and laugh at these things of life and death, because at the end of the day, like, I don't know, laughter is so healing.
It is healing. Yeah. Laughter and connection are like the biggest healers.
Yeah.
that I've found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't take life so seriously.
Yeah.
You know. Anything else that you feel called to share, or what feels like I was gonna ask you, I was like, if you were on your deathbed, what would you share, Linds? I feel like I can only make that joke with you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And we're really all on a death and life bed.
Yeah.
Like, it's just gonna happen at different points in time.
Yeah.
And for different reasons.
Right.
You know? But if you were to want to speak anything else into this podcast, and maybe I don't know, you guys let me know if you want Linds on for part 2. What else feels important for the audience to hear in relation to this conversation that's like in you?
Yeah. I think just the concept of understanding that time is precious, and being intentional with your time is an active choice. And it's like the most important gift that renews every morning. I had one really, really hard night a couple nights ago where I was so fearful of going to sleep because I felt that I would not wake up.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that's what this cancer is capable of.
Yeah.
There's someone in the ocular melanoma community who recently was given a couple days, and he wanted to make it through the holidays. And his partner put a post up that said that the day that he passed, he kept asking if the kids were in bed, if it was nighttime yet. Is it nighttime yet? Is it nighttime yet? Like he was waiting until his kids were peacefully asleep. And that just like glued to my soul while I was trying to fall asleep, and I just couldn't do it. And so I had to, ask Ryan to just like kind of talk me off the ledge.
Yeah.
But as I was kind of spiraling and then coming out of the spiral, I was like, if I wake up tomorrow, it will be the most important gift that I'm given, and that's the gift of time. And so this idea of being intentional about the time that I'm gifted, I'm not given, like I'm gifted time. And so I'm going to use it in the best ways that I can, and hopefully help other people understand that they can too.
Wow. I'm just going to like breathe that in for a second. You're really amazing at storytelling.
Thank you.
You're like, clearly that's why you're a speaker. You're really amazing at like bringing people into those really human lived moments, like with you, and just feeling that in the body, and just being like, yeah, like every day we wake up, like I'm even there, like in bed waking up and like, thank you universe, thank you to myself, like I fucking woke up, because there's gonna be one day where you go into the sleep and be reborn in some capacity.
Right. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Until then, I'm going to cherish it.
Fuck yeah. Where can people find you and follow you and follow your work?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram page for my speaking career. It's at Linds Speaks.
Linds, Linds.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to joke about your name.
Well, so my parents decided to get creative.
Do you think they'll listen to this podcast?
My mom will. I don't know if my
Okay.
dad will,
Okay.
but they named me Lindsay, and it's after a water softener, so it's not even a good story. But my name is Lindsay, but I shortened it to Linds on Instagram, because when people call me Lindsay, I'm just like, who? What?
That's not my name.
Where?
Who?
So yeah, Linds Speaks on Instagram.
Linds Speaks.
Yes.
So it'll be 2 S's in a row.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yes. And I have some little clips of some of my 60-second growth spurts from YouTube, and then some quotes from my keynote presentation that I put together on there. So that's the easiest way to contact me.
And I would say, if you're listening and you're seeking someone to bring a very inspirational, moving talk to your audience, your company, this is simply, I think, a fragment of what you offer to people. But also a very powerful fragment, because you cannot have the ocean without all the drops of water and all the little moments. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
for being in my life. And wow, I did not expect this. I said I might cry, but now it's just like all here. You have given me so much permission to be courageous in the work that I do. And it is truly an honor and a gift to serve and be a reflection back to you of the greatness and the healing that you bring to people. And yeah, again, you guys, it's been like almost an hour and a half, and I feel like there's so much more we could talk about, but I'm just gonna like cherish this moment and just say thank you. Like, thank you for bringing all of you, and thank you for teaching me and giving me permission to fucking live all out in my mission and my legacy, knowing that I too will have a day that we take the deep sleep and are reborn in a new form. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I love and appreciate you.
I love you too, and I appreciate you, and mean it when I say that you've been such an important part of my healing process. You know that.
I do.
Good.
I receive it. All right, y'all. Well, I'm not going to do a fancy sign off because I'm in tears. So thank you for tuning in, and we love and appreciate you, Lions and Lionesses, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
Thank you for joining the Project Lioness podcast. Did you find value in today's episode? Help us impact the lives of others by sharing this podcast with someone you know who would resonate and benefit from the Project Lioness message. Excited to hear more? We invite you to subscribe on whatever platform you're tuning in on. And we'd be so grateful for you to leave us a review about what you enjoy most, as well as what you'd like to hear more of. Thank you so much for all of your support. Sincerely yours in power, purpose, and play. Dr. Mel with the Project Lioness podcast. Keep rising, keep roaring, and keep inspiring.